And good morning. Welcome to Truth to Power, the show that hears your truths that becomes our power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we have a very, very powerful 2 hours of conversation to disseminate out a lot of information that's been going on for these past few weeks. But I've got a couple of very special guests in the studio with me today. I will go from the person that has done the show with me. He's been with me from the inception of the show. It's Norman Clement. Norman, welcome to Truth to Power again. And you know, this show would not be Truth to Power if it wasn't for Norman Clement.
Thank you.
And we have a lady that's on the show for the first time who probably needs very, 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 and I can't say the word very enough, little introduction. Because when you say her name, it resounds throughout not just the Detroit area, but throughout the world. And that is Miss Monica Morgan. Monica Morgan, welcome to Truth to Power today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And we know that we are 3 days from November the 5th. And November the 5th was a very, very monumental day. A lot of people spoke their truths and made it the nation's power. And we had a lot of people that were looking to go and support the candidate of their choice. We had on the Democratic side, we had Vice President Kamala Harris. And on the Republican side, we had former President, 45, Donald Trump. And when the ballots were counted, it was determined that former President Donald Trump will be our president-elect. So he was President 45, and he will also become President 47. There's a lot of people that have had a lot of anxiety about how the election went. There's a lot of people that were concerned about what's going to happen for these next 4 years under a Trump administration again. This time around, President-elect Trump has a different vice president. He had Pence with him before. Now he has J.D. Vance. So people will see the differences between a Trump-Vance administration from the Trump-Pence administration. The main thing I tell everybody is stay woke. And I can't say that enough. Stay woke. The future depends on you staying woke. And we know that there's a lot of people that are concerned about who voted for who. Norman, I know we'll talk about a little bit of the demographics when it comes down to how the different demographics were when it came down to who voted for Trump, and also about the people when it comes down to ethnicities that also supported Trump.
Right.
And then those that were thought to be supporting Harris that wound up supporting Trump.
Absolutely.
But let's get started today. We've got a lot of people that are going to be calling in. We've got a lot of dialogue to disseminate out. We are streaming. We are live here in Highland Park, Michigan. And if you'd like to call in, our call-in number is 313-365-7379. Okay, let's get started. Norman, I know you and I have had a lot of conversations.
Yeah, it's just we had a lot of conversations. It's just like anything. You look at the film. Anybody that ever played professional sports or any sports period, college, high school, when you win, lose, or draw, you look at film. Film, you go back over the game and see where you won, where you lost, what play broke down, what worked, what didn't work. Like we said before, Don, when you run this race 2 years ahead of time, this is no fault of Kamala Harris. What she was asked to do 100 days out was the impossible. It was remarkable. She had to pick up something where she was left off. Understand this. This is a bigger indignation with the Democratic Party, with the leadership of the Democratic Party, and those who are still up there trying to find their way to blame somebody. The data, we're going to talk about data. The data doesn't lie. The data never lies. This opportunity, this was against this candidate they were going against. This should have been a blowout. Two things that failed us. One, unfortunately, President Biden, he should have stuck to his word and ran one term. That was it. You should have had then the folks, the nomination process, or Pritzker or Kamala Harris or anybody else could run it in 23 to excite the base, get people to know younger Democratic leaders. Mention younger Democratic leaders. Introduce them to them. Find out who they are. If she would have came out to be the nominee, they would have had a year-long process to people to know where she was, who she is, how she stands on policy. But even though you knew all of that, the thing that we also messed up was that the movement was not, we lost our way to control the movement. Meaning that we let outsiders, our former allies, because we got to understand the word allies, dictate how we talk to our community, what was the focus in our community, and how we're supposed to galvanize people to get out to vote. It was too many it was too many doggone commercials about register to vote. Instead of saying, hey, get out to vote and vote for this person. There was too much C3 dollars into the strategic person of C4 dollars. C4 dollars tell you who to vote for, why you voting for. Don't split the ticket. Have a sincerity, unity about all of us what was running on that ticket. You left no option to vote for somebody else. When you have C4 dollars, you can tell that person, well, I'm not into politics. Well, you should be into this one. Vote all Democrat, and here's why. What we saw in Michigan, we saw over the state and all the world, especially for that night, Wednesday night, when they called North Carolina, I assumed that she was going to win North Carolina because the lead that the Democratic governor had. In that North Carolina, every Democrat won their race except for her. On the graphics, white women decided to split their ticket. Latino men decided to split their ticket. Some other races, the Asian Americans are only closest under Latino women that voted majority for her. White men, but white women decided to split their ticket to codify a role in their state, then vote for Trump. We had to sit back and understand, wait a minute, we have no ally in this movement of reproductive freedom. So obviously, white women have a different idea of reproductive freedom than black women do. Dearborn. Trump won. You split your ticket. You voted for Rashida and other Democrats. You split your ticket. That's a different conversation about leadership is going on. I understand what's going on in Palestine. I really do. Apartheid, genocide, that was going on. But your decision to put a man in office who's going to make Palestine, who's going to make Gaza into doggone 4 seasons, because he already told Netanyahu to go forward. So understand about solidarity and the bigger and the greater good. You decide to, if it's not our fight, and black people have been fighting for the greater good for all other races, and you knew what was at stake. You knew what time it was. You decide your fight was bigger than ours, or bigger than everybody to multiply about your babies too. So Gaza might not be able to, the famine and food will carry on in Gaza under another leadership. Ukrainians who fought, their food and leadership will be gone under the new administration. Jordan will be gone under the new administration. Syria will be gone under the new administration. What happened, what we saw today with other minority groups and those who are leadership that did not share the funds on the grassroots side, who gave us pennies of a dollar on the last second, that was selfishness. This is what selfishness looks like. This is what egos look like. And this is not the thing. And Darwin, we told, there's nothing new. We talked about this in 23. Shout out to Kermit Williams. Shout out to Tesla on the Tesla Post Truth last night. Shout out to all those folks on there, Better Man Outreach, Ken Whitaker, Sinead Whitaker Ross. I'm gonna shout out all those folks there, Tamika Ramsey. This information wasn't nothing new. This was told in 2023. The leadership decided we didn't know what we talking about. Now we here today, everybody shut down, everybody closed their doors, everybody woos me. No. Dry your eyes, take the time to mourn, get out your space. We got work to do, but understand this. We have to really understand two things, Darwin. Number one, we have to control our movement. And number two, we got to reevaluate what allies are.
Well, see, Norman, this is like what I say in the poem Invictus. The last lines of Invictus. You are the master of your fate. You are the master of your soul. And that's the thing that people don't really realize. You can't control your own destiny.
Right.
I talk to Hester Wheeler all the time. And Hester is always saying, if you want to predict the future, you have to shape it today. And that's what we're not doing. We're not shaping the future for what we do today. And that's what we have to do differently. Monica, what's your thoughts?
I'm over here still mourning. I mean, I know we have to get up and dust ourselves off and just say, hey, it's time to move forward. And that's actually what I did the day after the election. But that morning, I did not want to get out of bed. I did not want to talk to people. I did not want to look at another TV show, listen to another radio show, read another alert on my phone, because it was all about Trump. And I was so disappointed in our people. I know there are a lot of people who didn't come through, but it was our people that I spoke to. Some I didn't know, because I was working with a program that was like the turn out people to vote, get them to rally to vote, and speaking to some folk who were just, I don't know enough, so I'm not voting. What? People died for this, right? What do you mean you don't know enough? Well, this one young man said, he was about 30. He said, all of the people are telling me that I should vote for Kamala, but I don't know enough. I'm like, and so I told him a few things and tried to get him to go out. And he was like, well, I'll think about it, but I don't know enough. And so in other words, he probably did not vote. We have so many apathetic young people who don't know about the importance of voting. And then when they hear something on a commercial, they believe that's the truth and they go by that. Well, Trump, he gave us money. He did not. He held it up because he wanted his name in it, on it. But they're so misinformed, but the commercials educate them. A 10-second, 20-second, God forbid, a 30-second commercial, and they think that they know it all. So it's really, really sad. And it's like, okay, but we're a resilient community. We will move forward. We will survive these next 4 years. But we have to do something to prepare our young people so that we can move forward.
But see, Monica, Norman, that's the thing that I keep telling everybody. We can't wait. We got to start now.
Oh, of course. I'm not saying that we have. I'm not saying to wait. I'm with you on that. I'm not saying to wait. But we also have to prepare and mobilize people. I mean, they have to be better educated, and we have to reach more of our young people because they're the ones that are going to move us forward.
Well, you don't want somebody going out there trying to go and hunt for bear with a slingshot. You got to give them the proper ammunition to get out there and do what needs to be done. Yeah, go ahead, Norman.
And Darwin, also, too, we got to give them the truth.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of
times, that's where their power lies.
That's where the power lies.
Exactly.
You got to give them the truth, how they like it or not. You have to tell folks, I went to those same young men, well, man, I don't know enough. I said, stop lying. You know what you need to know. Why are you not voting for him? Why are you not voting for him? Your ego?
But do you think we spent too much time trying to convince the ones that said they weren't voting?
Absolutely. Because a lot of times, Darwin, We have had black men engagement talks all last year, 2023. We told them what's going on. And then we didn't start realizing until these media start coming in, outside media, CNN, Wall Street Journal. Oh, well, what's the issue with black men? Black men, black men, black men, black men. When at the end of the day, those black men never voted. Those black men have other issues with their mothers or a woman that they don't like, and they see it in her. That's what happened. So what should have done is this. You should have done is mobilize the other 277 people and talk to them about, okay, why are you not voting? Have those conversations. We spent a lot of time as organizers because guess what? $3 mostly goes to voter registration forms and get people to register to vote, register to vote. Michigan has a 89% voter registration rate in the state of Michigan. 86% white, 85.2 black. Most black people are registered to vote of age in the city of Detroit. We don't have a voter registration problem. We have a get out the vote education problem with civic education problem. That's the problem we have. And also, too, we have to tell folks the truth. Understand this. If you want the freedom that you want, if you want the stuff you want, I want better. You have to work for it, man. You can't sit on the sideline, sit on your behind and waiting for somebody from imagine. Even though you believe in the Lord and Savior, your Lord and Savior said, faith without works is dead. That's the problem. We don't want to do the work. Too many folks don't want to do the hard work. We have a lot of chiefs, not enough Indians. People have to do, or not enough warriors that go and do the work and able to be gall enough to tell the person who's in leadership, say, hey man, that idea you have, it sucks. We got to do something else. And the leadership has to understand, oh, well, that idea sucks. So what you got for me? Let's go with that. What killed us is egos. Our egos killed us. And that's our problem, especially in the city of Detroit. We have a mayor race coming up next year. Mm-hmm. We wait on the mayor to announce what he's going to do. Duggan might say he might run again. Are we prepared for that? Are we prepared for 3 people running for governor? We know Garland Gilchrist wants to run for governor. We talked about all this about black leadership, black power, black movement. How many people support Garland? Well, I don't know if he can win the state. See, that's the mindset we got to kill. Put your mindset together. If you want this brother in, you do what it takes to get this brother in without the funding. You do the work all the time. Hard work never does it. Hard work never, ever loses. When you work hard, you may lose a game, but you ultimately will go win the war.
Well, see, Norman, I always say it's not hard work, it's heart's work. And that's what it boils down to. Because if your heart is in it, it doesn't seem to be hard because your heart is in it. And you'll put that extra effort. Instead of just giving 100%, you may give that 110 or 120%. And that's one of the things that I saw, especially it seemed like with a lot of black women, Monica, that really wanted to galvanize around the chucks and pearls, as they kept saying about Kamala. You have a beautiful Kamala shirt on that you wore into the studio today. And I saw more and more women promoting the shirts, the caps, making certain that everybody understood how to even pronounce her name correctly. It's not Kamala, it's Kamala. And people were making certain that they gave her the proper respect, because that's the one thing too, Monica, that I was seeing too. It seemed like because she was a woman, they were really harping on any mistake, any misstep, anything that she did. And it kind of seemed to me like they gave her challenger for that presidential race, they gave him a lot of passes.
They gave him, yes, lots of passes. But we as women know that we always have to work harder to be considered half as good. And it was so unfair because everything she did, it had to be justified. But of course, with Trump, he could say whatever. It didn't matter. Whatever was on his mind, and people were like, oh, okay, that's acceptable. Like you said, yes, women were working for Kamala. We were in program or in movements like Win with Kamala. That night when she was going to run, we got together online with Zoom. Zoom almost broke down, and more people were added, and millions of dollars were raised that night just to support her. Women stayed up all night. We were on the phone. We were passing out, but women kept coming on saying, I'm going to do this. And I donated money because we were all ready to support her, not just with our words and our deeds and our prayers, but with our money. And then there were Facebook groups that were for her, Michigan Women for her, Black Women for her, Souls for her, all of these different groups. And people were just speaking their hearts, and there were people coming together and from different parts of town, different mindsets coming together to say, we want her to win. And it was just devastating to see the results.
Do you think that, I've heard people say, Monica, that misogyny.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I spoke to some Black men that I couldn't believe said, oh, she's not qualified to run. What? And that whole, we can agree to disagree. Oh, no, because your mindset says to me that you don't even think I'm qualified to do what I do because I'm a woman. And yet a lot of these men were raised by women. What do they mean she's not qualified? What qualifications does she need?
Boy, you know what? If it wasn't for Black women, we wouldn't have got through slavery.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's Black. That's why I talk about the egos, what's going on. And so I'm going to flip it to the Republican side, what they did. Well, the Republican side did, Trump announced he was running into 2022. Republicans put their money in the manosphere space. Those podcasters, those guys that say, man is this, not Kevin Samuels like. Oh, we got to do this together. We got to energize together. Well, you're a man or woman. You need to know your place and this like that. How you get a man and all this stuff like that. That spoke to guys who were upset about during 2020. Either I lost my wife or my girlfriend, either by divorce or we couldn't together. I might have cheated, whatever. My relationship is broken. I can't see my kids. 2022 is a new world. I have no money because of lack of the economy. So I'm going to go into that YouTube in that sunken place and watch YouTube videos because I can get my cable now. I cut the cord. I'm going to pick up those YouTube videos about misogyny, what a man is. Well, upright, I can have more women, but you understand I provide and protect you, even though most of these men only make $32,000 a year. And so they went on that space for a year. The Democrats never fought in that space. So I had a whole year to mind control and warp men, Black men, against their own interests.
They tried at the end, though.
They
did Black Men Huddle. They did Black Men Huddle. They brought some celebrities out.
Yep.
And they were talking about the whole thing of the Central Park
Five and all.
And what happened and how Donald Trump was like, persecute them. But it was too late.
It was too late. And also, too, the notion was people say, well, you just can't talk about felons because he's a felon and I'm a felon too. I get upset. No, you understand the difference. He's a white felon.
Yes, there was a big difference.
He's a white felon. You can't do what he do.
And he's about to walk for his felonies. Nothing's going to hold him back.
But if you was in that position, you would never be in that position.
You wouldn't have even had an opportunity to run.
And we tell brothers that. And it's like, well, I'm just saying I'm a felon. So you make it the person.
They're not making him. They're not about to be his brother. He's not going to invite them to the table.
Right. And so at the end of the day, and also we got about fighting your own interests. He said already, we're going to do there's no amount of money need we're going to do with mass deportation. What that means is this. It's called, I'm going to hurry up and finish. It means that what he's going to do is a wealth grab to any wealthy Latino, any wealthy Arab American that says they got their money from ill gains.
Well, we got to take a break.
Yeah, take a break on that.
So when we come back, we're going to delve deeper into that misogynistic viewpoint that some people had. You're watching Truth to Power. My special guest, Ms. Monica Morgan, Mr. Norman Clement. We'll be right back. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Matter. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
This is the Finance Doctor with the Phoenix Group. We specialize in financial problems. If you're dealing with repossession, foreclosure, garnishment, or any financial problem, give us a call at 1-877-446-1664. That number again is 1-877-446-1664 for the help you need. We specialize in financial problems.
And we are back with you. We are on the Truth to Power 2-hour show, and where your truth become our power. And we want you to call in and speak your truth so that we can make it our power. And I am your host, Darwin Griffin, and I am joined by Ms. Monica Morgan. I want to say photojournalist, as well as activist, community leader, and my friend who I've known for many, many years, and that is Mr. Norman Clement for Detroit Change Initiative. But we are currently joined on the phone by another friend of mine who I've known for many, many years. And he is the CEO and founder of an organization called All for One. And we are joined by another person who needs very little introduction, and that is Mr. Ishmael Terry. Mr. Terry, welcome to Truth to Power today.
Oh, good morning. And good morning to your listening audience and your panel.
Good morning.
And Ishmael, we've been getting into the topic just before we took a break, and we talked about misogyny and how misogyny was something that reared, its head in this election because of the fact that there were people that were saying they were not going to vote for a female in this election. I know, Ishmael, you and I talked a little bit about what's the next steps. I mean, should we, are we, we had Hillary that ran against Trump years ago. Now we had Harris to run against Trump this time around. Are we ready, Ishmael, for a female, and is the nation ready for a female president?
Okay, so I heard your show. I did listen to it. I heard
we appreciate that.
I heard Norman's take on it. I heard Monica's take. How you doing, Monica?
Good morning, Ishmael.
Good morning. Now, as the person that worked in government for 3 decades, in both federal, state, and local, I'm going to say this to you with the most kindness of heart as a member of the National Democratic Committee and all. The United States is ready for a woman to be president. You just had 2 bad apples that was not suitable to be president of the United States. You don't want to hear the truth, then get off this show. Because now the truth is about to come out.
All right.
You had two individual women who did not. I'll start with Harris first. First of all, no one paid attention to 2020 when Ms. Harris ran for president and she lost by double figures in the presidential election where she ran against Joe Biden. Okay. Secondly, Hillary Clinton, we had already knew that Ms. Clinton had some real sketchy situations around her that was not making her a suitable selection for president of the United States. Yes, did we mess up by allowing 120 days to go through to try to force feed a message that didn't resonate with the people of the United States? Yes, that's our fault as a party. Secondly, what made y'all believe, and I've looked at the exit poll, what made y'all believe that the 83% white women was going to team up with the 95% black women on reproductive rights? The problem was you ran the wrong message. You didn't decide to run on, you decided to run on reproductive because you couldn't talk about the economy. Because the inflation went up 14% during that infrastructure bill that Norman and I talked about. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't talk on the economy. You couldn't talk on the immigrant issue because when you went in and got elected, Joe Biden won by double figures in not all states. When you went in there and stripped out the immigration laws that was already in place and you took them out and you had nothing to go with it, you first blamed it on the Republican Party, didn't say that it was Democrats as well saw that immigration bill that we were trying to pass through was not suitable. So now we let in 11 million immigrants in. Where are you going to place them? You're sure not going to place them in villages and townships and rural areas. You're going to place them in black areas, Hispanic areas. So the Hispanic, Venezuelans, the Brazilians, even the Haitians and other cultures just came right on in. And immigration laws stating that we're going to give them the TPS, which then gave them a right to be here in the United States as a illegal but legal. So those are the talking points that Trump and the Conservative Party utilized. We did not have anything to combat that. Now, yes, our golden child was Gavin Newsom. But Gavin Newsom ran into a problem when he went to go into reparations. And when 3/8 of the Democratic state legislators and so forth backed out, that eliminated Gavin Newsom. Mm-hmm. Then we went to Shapiro. Shapiro knew that in the United States that we wasn't ready for a Jewish man to be a part of the presidential election. So he bowed out. Everybody that she went to bowed out. Only Tim Walz was available. So she had no opportunity to win this race. None. They played the race card. That didn't work. Because you have more black people and surrogates out there like Candace Owens and all of them, giving them opportunities to dig in your past. Remember, boys and girls, when you run for a seat like the President of the United States or U.S. House or U.S. Senate, if you have anything in your background that is sketchy, be prepared for people to come after you and look into your history. You can't hide forever.
So, Ishmael, are you saying that we don't have to have the same standards for Trump? Because let's talk about his sketchy background.
And I've said that before. I said that to barbershops and all. A bicameral system in the United States and the Western Hemisphere is not for black people. I don't know what else. I've been telling you guys that for the last 3 decades now. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes, now 4 eyes. And the bicameral system is not set up for us to succeed. Follow the blueprint of the Tea Party movement. Not all of it is extreme. But look at it face value. They went in and said, if you're not going to do what I want you to do, we had almost 74.4% of 16 to 55-year-olds that didn't go vote. I'm going off of what Monica said earlier, when she said she woke up sad. And she tried to talk to somebody who said that they weren't going to vote. 16 to 55%. 55 years of age. 74% of them did not go vote.
Yeah, Generation X stayed at home.
Yeah, that's my generation.
That's our generation.
And the generations right after me.
Right. Generation X stayed at home.
Okay. So if you was going to use a fear tactic, and I said that to a lot of Democratic clubs who asked me to come in and speak. If you're going to use a fear tactic that really works. That in the black community. Say you're going to take away bridge cards. Say you're going to take away Medicaid. Say you're going to do away with the marijuana process. Start talking like that if you want to start frightening people in the black community, because that's what they deal with on an everyday basis.
But
why
why do we have to use fear tactics to get people?
Because you're not willing to go talk to them. We talked about this, Darwin. Look, when y'all brought in Harris, where you got to take her to? Livernois. Where you got to take her to? Cuzzo, right? You're going to see the same familiar faces. Monica's going to be there to take pictures. Everybody going to be there that you can shake hands with.
Wait, hold on.
Already.
Monica wasn't invited into that setting.
I'm sorry.
So let's not go there with that.
Ishmael.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know if
you think it's the same people, but it's not. There's a few people who's running it, and they pick who they want.
But also, too, but listen to what Ishmael's saying. Continue, because I'm gonna finish your thought. We thinking the same thing. Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
So, as you guys were, okay, so let me scratch Monica. Sorry about that, Monica. You're my girl. All right. But if you got the same people in the same room, talking to the same message with the same ideology, you wasting your time. If you don't take yourself to Mac and Bewick, just take your motorcade and ride around Mac and Bewick. Take your motorcade and ride around Linwood and Dexter. Take your motorcade and ride around the deep parts of the east and the deep parts of the west.
But Ishmael, that's not her fault. That's the party's fault. Think about it. Think about it.
If you heard what I said,
I know what you're saying.
I said it was our party's fault.
Yes.
I didn't say it was her fault. I didn't never say that. I said it was our party's fault.
Mm-hmm.
I started this with saying our party.
Yeah.
So our party didn't want to talk to the people like the young man that you was talking to, because they already had erased them out.
So and I agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that.
Because the people who went to talk to the Democratic Party, to talk to me in the Congressional Black Caucus meetings that I was at, they had already exited them out.
So what you're saying?
You didn't have a choice.
So Ishmael.
Yes, sir.
What you're saying is this: the same thing we said years ago.
Yeah.
You organize your target, meaning that you go to the hood, you hire people from the hood to go and knock doors and talk to them. They did not hire nobody from the hood. And they made everything exclusive for those who know. And then when you need the hood to come out, you're too scared to go. So then you try to send the church folks out to the hood. They too scared to go, and nobody goes to the hood, and the hood don't come up.
You try to get up there and get with those guys like New Era and all of these people, Detroit 300s and all of these other organizations. Mm-hmm. You threw a small fracture out to them and said, hey, go talk to them over there. I tell people, even when Wayne State political science people in their department asked me to come and speak to their school, to their students, I always tell them this, and I hope your audience is listening. we have in the political landscape where we say, okay, we look at the numbers. If we know that, and I talked to Norman about this, if we know that 80% of the population over in one corner of the city is into it, well, a person like me is going to come all the time, right? I'm the candidate. I'm the person that's elected. I'm the person that worked in the government. I'm all of that. So they're going to invite me to come over there. 86% of those people going to go vote, right? They're going to listen. They're going to be a part of this system and all. That's 30 to 50% of the people over on this side. Now, I might not show up today. I might send a staff. I might send an aide. I might send some literature. Every once in a blue moon, I might come over there to talk to them and see how they do it. They just happy to know that I'm in their neighborhood, that I'm in their community. And then there you got those people who don't vote at all. So I'm never going to show up to that. I'm never coming over there. Why? Because they're not involved. They're not talking. They're not listening. I can't tell them what to do. So because they less involved, I'm not going to even show up. I might even give a piece of literature here and there to them. I'm going to let the word of mouth on that 30 to 50% go travel over there and make it seem like I'm doing something over there.
Well, Ishmael,
now, I know I'm not.
Ishmael, I hear you.
I know I'm not supposed to be talking like this because I am a political figure, but I got to set the record straight.
But Ishmael, let me say this to you. The thing is, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. You can't keep preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
You've got to go outside of the choir and get to the people that may not be the ones to attend all these rallies. That may be the ones.
You didn't even go to the universities. You didn't even talk to the high schoolers. You didn't do none of those things. Civics 101. We've all been taught that, even when we had civics in our schools.
But let me correct you on something. It may not have been a matter. She, as well as candidates in the past, have gone to the high schools. They've gone to the Cass Techs. They've gone to the Renaissances. They've gone to other schools, the high schools, and they've conducted rallies. Just like even right after the debate, you looked and you saw Biden went to Renaissance and spoke over there at Renaissance. And everybody was looking at him and seeing how he came across at the rally over there at Renaissance High School. The question is that was there a lot of work that was attempted to be done too late in the campaign? You mentioned before about here, she had 107 days that when the torch was passed on to her. And was that enough time to get out and galvanize the troops to say, hey, this is
She was
our
set up
person.
to lose. She was set up to lose. You got to understand, Biden's feelings was hurt. His staffers, I even got all of the surrogates that was inside of Biden's team that was on his staff. Because, you know, staffers talk to staff, even if you're not there anymore. They were highly upset about the idea that they got kicked out. Got kicked out with a trash bag with nothing but the papers in his hand. And not one team on the other team was talking to each other. So while you had that discrepancy going on in there, now you got to run a campaign. What you should have done, and what I told them, and I'm going to tell you the truth, what you should have done was when you knew in the first session of Biden's win, you should have started moving and mobilizing him out of there. And then implementing the 25th Amendment on him then. But you
explain to some of the audience that may not know. What is
the 25th Amendment allows you to say if a president is incapacitated, is incoherent, and should be a vital incoherent. Thank you. Incoherent and could be a vital threat to the United States. You can have them removed. But they threatened him with it several times, and they just didn't enact on it. So when Biden came out and said, I'm going to fill out my second term, that threw everybody for a loop. That threw Obama that drew everybody for a loop.
So do you
Nancy
think that
Pelosi,
Ishmael,
Chuck Schumer.
so do you think that okay, so let me understand you right. So are you
Mm-hmm.
saying that if he had have said earlier, instead of waiting until the 107 days out, that
Correct.
he would go and he would step aside? So you
Correct.
think that if he had have said something maybe like a year earlier, that might
Yeah.
have made a difference in
That
terms
That would
of
have made a
saying
whole
how
lot
the
of
outcome
difference
may have
because
been?
then what happens is that then you would have opened up a door for a platform to be coming out where democracy would have been looked at by the people. Then you would have had people have to select who would have been president of the United States, who would have fought Trump, right? So then you would have had a cast of characters to be able to come out and say, I'm running around for president. So just like Robert Kennedy, Jill Stein, all of these people would have had the opportunity to be on platforms where they would have had a primary, would allow people to be able to speak their mind and speak the truth, and then speak into an existence of who you want to select from the people to be the Democratic nominee.
And also,
You didn't give that an opportunity.
Right.
So people felt disingenuous about the vote. That's why you led more people to say, again, why would I go vote if you just telling me they doing what you say you're not going to do, but you end up doing it. So you didn't give me a chance to select an individual to be president of the United States. You told me this is the person that's going to be president of the United States.
and also,
And and I'm gonna let you speak. I'm sorry
Go ahead.
because I want to get this out.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you have 3 wars and you spending over $2.7 trillion to occupy those wars, you're causing a massive inflation in the United States. People are going to say, "Okay, I'm not good for that." So what Rashida and what all of the others in the Arabic community and Middle Eastern community, they said, "Look here, man. We told you that he killed more than 75% of the men and women of seniors and children in Gaza. And you did nothing but spewed out more money to Israel." Okay, well, those Muslims, some 180-some thousand Muslims, decided we're going to change our registration. Now, they were there always on point with being Democrats and voted Democrat.
Norman,
From Hamtramck to Dearborn Heights.
Right.
Norman, go
But
ahead.
when that,
Hang on,
but when
Ishmael.
that,
Hang on,
go ahead.
Ishmael.
I'm sorry.
Let
Well,
Ishmael.
I understand what you said, but
Let
that
Norman.
happened. They switched their power to the line. So what you're saying is also, if he would have stepped down in 2022, and she could have been a sitting president for a year, and maybe could have run, the mindset of the whole country would have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that she was so when Biden had his colonoscopy or whatever that where he had, right? The correct colorectal.
Yeah.
She sat in office then.
Right.
She was president for 48 hours, 72 hours, right? Okay. So then that gave her an example of what it's looking like to be president. I'm saying to you in 2021, 2022, you're correct. They would have said, "Okay, Biden, your health scare is over, but we know that you're not capable of doing this anymore. Here's a care package.
Yep.
This is what we're going to give you. All right. We're not going to investigate your son. None of this stuff is going to happen. Now you can be gone." Now you give a platform out there in the Democratic Party to be able to give people an opportunity from universities and so forth, every walk of life, an opportunity to see here's the states and give your point of view on who you want to pick to run for president. It might have not been Kamala Harris. It might have been somebody else. But you would have gave them the opportunity. You would have gave the people an opportunity
And
to have their voice
and
heard.
actually, she could have sat as president for that time being if she wasn't selected. People
So-
got used to a woman. I understand what you're saying.
Well,
So
Ishmael, let me say
Yes, sir.
this now. So we've only got
Uh-huh.
a few more minutes till we take a break. So give your formula for what do you see that we need to do, the Democratic
Mhm.
Party,
Yeah.
between now and 2028, because we know
Yeah.
this. I was talking with Monica and with Norman, before you came on, was that
Yeah.
we know that we need to start planning today for tomorrow. what do you see, and who do you see possibly? Just give some names of some people that you think the Democratic Party could galvanize around and look at running against whoever the Republicans put in the forefront, which possibly could be J.D. Vance.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
What do you think? Who do you think is probably the Democratic candidate that they may want to put in the forefront?
Yeah. So you got Gavin Newsom still on the top of the ticket, right? Because Biden anointed him the golden child. You still got Shapiro. Still got
Josh,
governor
of Pennsylvania.
Correct. There's an op on, and what I've heard so far on Hakeem Jeffries might be a possible. And then there's three that's independent, like they, Unitarian. They nobody, right? But you can't treat them like that. But they people who are just
you got to treat everybody like somebody's.
You got it. So those are the three that's out there now in D.C. that everybody is talking. All the surrogates are talking about.
Warnock's name not mentioned?
No. No.
So Wes Moore's name not mentioned either?
No.
So are there any females on that short list?
There's three, but not. I think they was really hoping that Galbert would have stayed as a Democrat instead of moving over to Republican, because she was looked at as one of the shiny nickels. Gretchen Whitmer. Yeah.
Okay.
Gretchen Whitmer is another. That's a shiny nickel. But yeah, it's, that's where is it at now. But okay. the feasible thing that you could do, one, put field workers out there now to get the feel of the landscape. Do surveys out there. Go to, like when Durfee Societal is hosting something, send somebody from the party there.
Okay.
And have brief conversations and do a survey.
Okay.
That will give you an opportunity to see what's the landscape is going to look like in the years to come. The next, after this 4 years, it will give you an opportunity to see what's the talking points.
And Ishmael, you make a lot of points. We've got to take a break, so we definitely appreciate your comments that you made. And we are Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we've got joined in the studio here. We've got Ms. Monica Morgan and Mr. Norman Clement, but we will be right back. So stay tuned.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. Be seen on WHPR Detroit Live, on the web at TV33WHPR.com, with the TV33 app, on Roku, Google TV, Apple TV, and on Amazon Fire TV. Act now. Time slots are limited. Sign up today and get a free replay with the purchase of your time slot. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only. Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live.
This is the Finance Doctor with the Phoenix Group. We specialize in financial problems. If you're dealing with repossession, foreclosure, garnishment, or any financial problem, give us a call at 1-877-446-1664. That number again is 1-877-446-1664 for the help you need. We specialize in financial problems.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
And we are back live. And I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and you are watching the Truth to Power 2-hour segment. And this is the show where your truth becomes our power. And we are joined here in the studio today by Miss Monica Morgan, photojournalist and community activist, Mr. Norman Clement. And we have, I believe we're going to be joined by a Miss Shar Goolsbee. Is she on the? Okay. Well, we're gonna kind of wait for her to get a chance to call in, Miss Goolsbee to call in a second. But we've been having some interesting dialogue even between this little, break time that we've had. And I know, Monica, that Ishmael made a lot of points, made a lot of comments, just like he was saying about, his thoughts about a woman, possibly looking at the two women that we've had that have ran. Trump is even trying to espouse that he can beat women, as far as say that maybe trying to go and run against him. But we're joined by Miss Goolsbee, Shar Goolsbee. We're welcoming you to the Truth to Power show today with Monica Morgan as well as with Norman Clement. Thank you for coming on and calling in to the show today.
Hey, Shar.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you. How are you?
Good. We are very, very plumb pleased to have you join us on the show today. But what are your thoughts, Ms. Goolsbee, about what has happened in the last few days since the election and we got the results on November the 5th?
Well, let me just give you just a little background. I became engaged in the campaign 7 days after V.P. Harris announced that she was running, but had been a part of who she was politically for many years. And specifically 4 years ago when Joteka Edie of Win with Black Women decided that we would be a part of who would be on the vice presidential ticket. And they began to support Ms. Harris, and I did too, solely based on her qualifications. Yes, the fact that she was a Black woman was important to me, but I saw her as a qualified candidate. So when Win with Black Women decided to put her up and support her, I was on board to do that. So I want to be completely clear that I was for VP Harris and the Harris ticket, Harris Walz ticket. So to your question, what are my thoughts? Like I said, I got on board about 7 days after. I hosted probably about 18 events in my home. I was a part of probably 25 events altogether, working directly with the campaign. I worked with China Cochran, who was the director of women's engagement for the Harris Walz campaign. So I was 100% committed. So since November 5th, since the announcement came down, I've gotten a lot of feedback from the community, particularly from some of the hundreds of women that came through my house during that time. And most Black women are feeling just a variety of things. Some are just feeling, devastated. Some are feeling betrayed. Some are feeling hopeless. Some are feeling hopeful.
Well, when you say Ms. Goolsbee, when you say betrayed by who?
I think that a lot of us thought that we had formed an ally with white women that we did not. That was all just an illusion, because if you look at the data and how white women voted, they voted for their privilege and not for themselves as women. So they voted for their historical privilege. They voted for the privilege of their children, which is what they've been known to do, actually, versus voting for womanhood. And I think we were under the illusion that all women, the majority of all women, including white women, would vote for their womanhood versus anything else. And we were mistaken, and the numbers bear that out.
So when you talk in terms of, say, about the women, I know some people are saying that they felt not only let down by the white women, but also by, were there any other ethnic women in terms of, say, like the Hispanics, the Asians, the any other, the Arabic women that may not have come out and supported Harris as well?
We had that whole thing with the Arab community and Dearborn and Hamtramck, and that was very it was not surprising to me. But I will tell you, because I think in some cultures, women tend to align themselves with who they see as their head of household, number one, and with men. And so I wasn't surprised in that. But a lot of people in the Arab, a lot of women in the Arab community are very disappointed by the Biden-Harris administration and the stances they've taken on the war over the Middle East. And so that was a real problem for them. So that allowed an opportunity for a fracture to occur and for the Trump campaign to slide in there. I don't think that was an accident either. Keeping that war ramped up through this entire campaign, I think was on purpose. I think it was on purpose to drive that crack or fissure in that particular group to siphon off votes. I don't think anything is an accident. So, where we are now, the women that I have been organizing with for the last several months, is that, we're organizing again. We're having our first meeting on Tuesday. We're having the general meeting, and then, of course, we're having the meeting before the meeting. And we're going to make some decisions about how we're going to operate inside of this new American construct and try to anticipate some of what might be coming so that we can engage properly. So again, it's about organizing. It's about being prepared for what may show up and being able to have a structure to be able to get into action to do that.
Ms. Goolsbee, I had just asked our previous caller about what he thought were
About what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. About what?
I had asked our caller about who he thought would be the candidate that the Democratic Party may go and put against the Republican candidates in 2028. Who are some of the people that you think, or that your women's group may think, that are pretty much like the shining stars that could be candidates that could run in 2028?
I think Shapiro out of Pennsylvania. I think Gavin Newsom out of California. I think people initially thought that Gavin Newsom would get the tap for this last run. He did not. Those are the two that I think could possibly run and win. Those are the two that come to top of mind for me. And but we'll see. I hope. I was listening to one of your previous callers, and I just want to amen one of his points about what I think was one of the biggest mistakes that the campaign made in terms of organizing, and something that if we should ever get back into the White House again, I think that we should correct. There was never a direct line or a through line of communication from the White House to Mack and Bewick.
Absolutely.
So true. Yep.
There never was. And like most campaigns, we show up 18 to 24 months, maybe 24 months in advance, and we say, hey, we want your vote. Hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. Instead of having a consistent relationship and a consistent line of communication to Mack and Bewick, to the projects, to other places where we see lower voter turnout, we see low voter engagement, we write those people off until we need them. The Highland Parks, yes. The Benton Harbors, the certain areas of Saginaw. We write them off until we need them. I think that's a mistake, and it's always been a mistake of the Democratic Party, and that's something that we absolutely must do better with, because the numbers of people that voted in Detroit were, lower than the Obama years, the Obama presidency.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question, in terms of, I know we're thinking about like 2028, but you being a resident here in the Wayne, Oakland, Macomb areas, the thing that I would ask you too is that here, as our caller had mentioned about, you've got the mayoral election, you've got the local elections that are going to be next year. Then you've also got the gubernatorial election that comes up in a couple of years. So who are some of the candidates that you're hearing that could be aligned for mayor for the city of Detroit, for some of the city council spots, unless all of the incumbents are going to run again and be reelected, and then also for the governor's mansion 2 years from now, because we know that Governor Whitmer is term limited out, so she can't run for a third term. So who are you hearing, or who are you going to talk with your women's groups? And like you said, and you're applauded for doing the meetings before the meetings.
Right.
Who are you looking at? Or who are the women that you talk to? Who are they talking about?
So I'm hearing what everybody else is hearing in terms of who will be running and who's actually said that they're going to be running. In terms of women, Santil Jenkins has formed an exploratory committee, and Mary Sheffield has actually announced that she's going to run. She's done a soft announcement. I was at that luncheon. And so we know on the municipal level and the city level, we're probably going to have Mary, we're going to have Santil, we're going to have Fred Durhal. I understand that he's looking at running as well. So, we have to have the meeting before the meeting, then the general meeting, and then we're going to decide who we're going to support. I think unless somebody else jumps in there, I think it's probably going to be, Mary Sheffield is probably going to be the lead on that. In terms of the gubernatorial race, of course, everybody is saying that our current mayor will be in that race. Our current LG is probably going to be in that race. We hear that Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson is going to be in that race, and I don't know who some of the other people might be on the Republican side, but on the Democratic side, those are the folks. And so the question is who can win. Sometimes you can support people based on principle and if you like them, and then sometimes you have to support people based on who can win, right? So we're going to be looking at who can win, and if that person really supports our interests, and we will support them. As I said, hundreds of women came through here. Thousands of women were engaged in this last campaign. And it is my hope to mobilize and re-engage them when it is time for these next elections to come up. And that's why we're having our meeting on Tuesday, because our voices will be heard. I'm going to say that again. Our voices will be heard with respect to what we need locally and statewide. They will be heard. Now, let me just say something that might be a little controversial. And I said this to a couple of people. Somebody's got to go to Washington, D.C. and interact with this new administration. It's very foolish for us not to get a seat at the table. You may not want to sit at that table. You may get some stink on you sitting at that table, but we would be foolish not to engage this Trump administration to telegraph what it is that we need in our communities, to be some type of guardrail. We would be foolish not to do that. I don't know who that person is or who those people are, but that is something historically we have not done. We don't like the other party, so we don't go. We better go.
That's a great point.
You need to keep your enemies close.
But also, too,
keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Those two, yeah.
Exactly.
But also, too, she's speaking to a point where, some of our people I know who are Republicans who voted for him and opposition who are black.
I'm not hearing the gentleman that's speaking right now. If you could just speak just a little bit louder.
I say you speak on that, where I know folks on the opposite side that look like me, and I said to myself, okay, you won. I see you putting the memes up. Get a leadership position and do something with it. I think we do need to have that conversation or challenge those same issues that people march on the DNC about. It's time to ask them, hey, what y'all about reparations? What are we going to do about us for our community? We need to have those conversations, because too many times we always fire on the side that has our ideas of what they're not doing. Mm-hmm. But there's the other party too. We have to go and say, hey, what you doing on this? We have to. So if the brother, Young Blivens, ran against Sheree Tanner laws, but he's a Republican, he should be up at the top of leadership. Hey, man, what you doing for Michigan? What you doing for Michigan from the Republican Party standpoint?
So you're saying, Norman, that you may look at like the Martell Bivens, the John Jameses, possibly the Tim Scotts.
What are you doing for black people in your community? Same questions that we asked the Democrats.
To hold them accountable.
Absolutely. What are you doing for reparations for black folks in the community? Don't sit there and be, I'm going to say this. You don't have to coon. You don't have to sambo. Be your authentic self.
I agree.
Because guess what? Let's keep it honest with you. More black men are conservative thinking. You don't have to sambo. You can be like Mike Steele. Still have those principles on there. Conservative principles. There's many great conservative black men that served in the country were Republicans at one point. Be your authentic self and do for the community. That's what I'm on. I mean, that's what I'm on. I'm charged. Like, hey, you in charge? Okay, cool. What are you doing for the black community? Period. Don't save it for one side. Both of these entities right now are not doing what we need to do. And this is a corrective measure that we need to do. Don't hold your fire for one side, hold it for both.
I completely agree. I think that what we're going to see from a Trump White House is he's going to, I think, endear himself to the Black community in ways that you've not seen him before. And I think he's going to try to make it all right. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to enact a lot of the policies we see in 2025, but I think he's going to do a much better job, I suspect, of connecting to the Black community so that he can endear himself to them. But I think that what we need to do, I think what the Biden-Harris administration did not do, which is what I led with, is that they did not create a direct line of communication to Detroit, Chicago, Philly, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Oakland, like to those cities that are our cities. There was not a direct communication because the Biden-Harris administration did do quite a bit. However, nobody knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask people, the first thing people say, well, what did they do for us? Versus being able to say what they did do for us. So, I think that that's something that's, that has to be addressed. But for us as Black women in this city, I think we have to get smart about organizing our voting block, because a voting block is power. We have to organize ourselves so that we have power, so that we can go in as a voting block and communicate what it is our needs are and have candidates respond, have them commit, and then when they win, hold their feet to the fire. As a block of people, we should be walking in. That's what power looks like.
And see, you are speaking a lot of truth to power, which is the name of the show. But I want to ask you too, do you think that this is going to be the last run for President from Vice President Harris? And then what is in the future do you see for Vice President Harris if she doesn't run for president again?
So I would have no idea as to whether or not she's willing to get into this dogfight again. But what do I see for her? I see for, Eric Holder, I think is a very fine example of what you do after you leave an administration when he took on this whole issue of gerrymandering and made that thing his issue. He said, you're going to win because you win. You're not going to win because you cheat, right? So he's taking on this gerrymandering thing. I perhaps see her taking on an issue. I don't know what that issue is, where she can just be powerful, maybe in the space of criminal justice, since she comes from prosecuting and being an AG. I don't know. It would all be a guess for me as to whether or not she would run again or what she would do not running again. But I will tell you that I like what Eric Holder is doing and would like to see her take on an issue and be very visible and put herself behind it 100%. But it would be a guess.
Well, I just want to throw one last question at you, and then I'm going to open it up so that Norman or Monica wants to ask you a question too. But, I keep hearing from people that say that they think that Michelle Obama should run.
They think what? I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
That Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, that she should be a candidate somewhere in the future, maybe the near future, or it could be in the distant future, but they see a potential presidential run by Michelle Obama. What's your thoughts about that, Ms. Goolsbee?
I'm going to give you what her public thought has been about it. Absolutely not.
Yep.
She has said on more than one occasion that she doesn't like the stink of politics. And she's absolutely not going to do it. So I can only give you back her words. She said, no, I don't even know that personally I would want that for her. given what she had to deal with as First Lady and how vicious they were with her when she was First Lady, could you imagine how vicious they would be with her as a potential candidate for President of the United States? So I can only say what she said, which is absolutely not. She's not going to do it. She doesn't like politics. She doesn't like the stink of politics. So I don't see her engaging herself in that way. She doesn't have to.
Norman?
I think you're absolutely right. We don't deserve her.
That's interesting how you say that, Norman. We don't deserve her. Just like some people are saying we didn't deserve Vice President Harris either.
We didn't. I mean, at the end of the day, the woman had a plan where she came out saying $50,000 for your first business loan, $25,000 for the down payment on your first home for no home buyers. That should have been said. That should everybody named Mama who are in their basement or still living with their mother. Every brother that was struggling about finding self-identity should have voted for her. But he did again. At the end of the day, our egos come into play.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to deal with our own biases and bias. We can have a perfect candidate. Christ could come down himself. And we'll have still folks that, I don't know. I don't like how he looks. The cross thing, it doesn't get to me. So people have their own biases that they got to deal with first and everything. The second thing, Monica, I think you're absolutely right on, is like creating a space where, number one, identify your allies, who your allies are, and sitting in there having these conversations. We're having our first, we're getting back to work on Monday, and on November 24th, we'll be at Art Block, sitting there. It's open not just for men, it's open for everybody. We have some food there, and we're going to sit and talk and strategize for the next couple of 3 to 4 years what that looks like. And we're going to do a lot more than just go along and get along. I mean, I advise anybody to say this, we must command our message. Yeah. We must hold our power. We must control our movement. That's it. I think a lot of times at this point, I saw a funny thing that says truth. Right now, all invites to the cookout are on hold right now.
Yeah, I saw that same thing.
I saw that. Everything's on hold right now. Otherwise, everything barbecue right now is on hold right now. We got to talk about who comes to the picnic and that.
Monica?
Well, it's just important to go ahead and promote inclusivity. We have to make sure that everybody's voice is heard, and we got to get to the Mac and BWIC people to make sure they're included in these conversations so that they don't feel left out. Like you said earlier, we were talking a lot about who did they reach out to in the party, and where do we go? Because a lot of people were apathetic. A lot of people just said, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not going to, vote, which was really sad. So there's just so much more we need to do, but it's all about mobilizing now. And Shar has been doing a lot of great things. She's had some very influential people come to her home to talk to folk who were there to phone bank and to go out and canvass areas. And Shar made it her definite aim to just go out in the Highland Park and different places and say, I want people to vote. I'm going to talk to my sisters. She didn't say I'm going to talk to them. She said, I'm going to talk to my sisters. We wrote postcards and we addressed it to sisters, not just to the person's name on the postcard. We made it endearing and engaging to let them know we're all in this together. And that's what we have to keep on pushing, that people don't feel left out. They're a part of the process.
And my question, Shar,
and we got to take a break in a minute, but go ahead.
One question, did you get the message that you felt that everything was too exclusive for this campaign to get access to? Did people feel that?
So let me just say this very quickly, as quickly as I can. Someone said earlier about preaching to the choir. The pastor can always get an amen if he just turns around. Mm-hmm. I always believed in going into the areas where it was difficult, where it was going to be a challenge, where you may have to change people's minds. I did feel that a lot of it was exclusive instead of inclusive. And that's the whole Mac and BWIC conversation, that we have to meet people where they are and we have to have the hard conversations. So all of the hundreds of women that came through my house, all of the hundreds and thousands of women that China Cochran organized, we plan to organize those women and we plan on getting them in a singular conversation. And we plan on using that block of voices and votes to be heard. I'm not an out front kind of organizer, but I'm an organizer in my heart.
And that's what makes it, because we got to take this break, but that's what makes it so important, because you do the work and the work resounds in the people that you work with. And that's what's important, because you don't talk at people. From what Monica tells me, you listen to people and you talk with them, and that's what matters. Ms. Goolsbee, we are very, very appreciative of you calling into the show today. We definitely have to have you back on the show again. So we open up this invitation to you to come back on Truth to Power.
I look forward to it. And the event that you guys mentioned toward the end of the month, Monica, give me that information. I'd love to be there.
Definitely, you're welcome.
All right. Well, then we are going to take a break, and you are live with us with Miss Monica Morgan, Mr. Norman Clement. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we will be right back with our last half an hour of Truth to Power.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
This is the Finance Doctor with the Phoenix Group. We specialize in financial problems. If you're dealing with repossession, foreclosure, garnishment, or any financial problem, give us a call at 1-877-446-1664. That number again is 1-877-446-1664 for the help you need. We specialize in financial problems.
Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and this is the show where we hear your truths and we turn them into our power. We have been joined by Ms. Shar Goolsbee. We have also been joined by Mr. Ishmael Terry, and during this last half an hour, we're also going to be joined by Miss Cassie Jones McBride. So we've got an opportunity to talk about a lot of different things that are going on and things that have gone on in this presidential election. But before we close out with this last half an hour, I'll give you, Monica, an opportunity to voice your truths to power. And then, Norman, I'll give you an opportunity to do the same. And then, hopefully during this last half an hour, we can be joined by Miss Cassie Jones McBride of Fuller Woman. But Monica, being a gentleman, we'll let you go first.
So, Darwin, I told you when you invited me on this show that I'm not that vocal, but I'm that person that speaks through the images. I talk to people behind the scenes, and I did a lot of that. Okay. Being here on the airways, I feel kind of like the lone person because you all have been having these continual conversations. But what I've done, I've talked to people who were not likely to vote. I've talked to some of those people that felt alienated and apathetic and said, my vote doesn't matter. And so that's when I got galvanized and into gear and said, hey, you know, I would drag them along with me to different things. I would get them to sign up to phone bank. And people didn't know sometimes when they came into things, they weren't the choir. They were the people who were, I'm the one that's left out.
Right.
And so that's been my mission, to talk to those who don't feel like a part of this, who need to be. And actually, I'm still sending them information now to keep them updated on what's going on. And they're out there talking to others. So that's my movement. You know, being on the airwaves, I feel like, okay, Darwin, you got that mic and you're great at it. And I'm listening to you, Norm, and you're great at it. And I'm that person that just speaks through the images and speaks through my heart. And I let people see. I let them see the humanity in Vice President Harris. I let them see the things that she was doing and hear some of the snippets of what was going on at the rallies or the inside conversations so that they could become a part of what was going on.
Absolutely.
So we have to make sure that doesn't happen again, that people say they know their vote counts and that they feel their vote counts.
Yeah, and Monica, you said something where, like I said, she did the best she could. I think the surrounding people who were supposed to aid in that effort failed miserably because they treated it as, if you need everybody to vote or everybody come to the party, you let everybody come to the party. You can't have say we don't have a 100,000 party, but only VIP is only for 10,000.
Right. And even some of the people that were put into place,
yes.
Those faces, like you see the China Cochran's, they still had limitations.
Right.
I mean, they could only do so much, but then you see them out front and you think, oh, well, China's doing this and China's doing that. She did everything that she could to work and galvanize people. But then she had people over her that she had to listen to, if you know what I mean. So they put people out there and then they don't give them the power that they need to have to do what they need to do.
And that's where it comes back to Monday morning, we analyzing everything back there and say, okay, Democratic Party, you need another, we got to fire your offensive coordinator. We got to fire a defensive coordinator. We need a better special teams manager. It wasn't the candidate. A candidate could be you could be great as ever. We understand that. But if your candidate is listening to you right now and listen to my advisors and you guys are terrible, then I'm going to look like a terrible candidate, look like I'm out of touch.
Right.
And so as a whole, they got to have some real honest conversations of, I hope the conversations right now, the DNC are, okay, let's transition to leadership.
And see, wait, let me say, and I got to say this. Like I live in Trumpville and I was excited to know there was an office in my area because I had to go through all of the humongous Trump signs to get to that office. But when I went in there, I wore this shirt with Vice President Harris's face on it, shining and in bling. Do you know what they said to me? We love your earrings. They were the old English D earrings. That said to me, you've got haters in this office. They're not even supporting her. They're working here, but they're not supporting her. So when I walk in, I felt, I mean, you know, of course it was, oh, hey, welcome. And but there's nowhere in the world you could see this shirt and not acknowledge it as a woman, because this shirt, even Maya Harris, the vice president's sister, said, oh, I love that shirt because her face is shining in this shirt. She looks presidential in this shirt. How dare you talk about my earrings?
And truth be told, I got my mother-in-law that shirt. You're the second person I've ever seen with that shirt. It's a rare shirt.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that really stands out because of that shirt. Look like we are being joined by Cassie Jones McBride.
Hey.
A Fuller woman. Cassie, are you on the line with us?
Hey, family. Can you hear me?
Hey, Cassie.
Hey, Cassie.
Very well, Cassie.
Good, good. Good to be with you.
Good to have you on the show with us today. But I've got Monica Morgan. I've got Norman Clement. And we want to hear what Cassie Jones McBride is thinking in this.
Oh, it's family for real in here. All right, all right.
But talk to us. Give us truth to power from Cassie Jones' perspective.
Well, what I do know is when people recognize that you have power, then people try to take power from you. Never question about if who we are and how we move is powerful, because we know that that's the case. What I have been asked to do was to give some encouragement, and particularly even this morning when I was in a meeting with some people not of color, and they were asking about the things that they should be mindful of this morning. And to give hope, right? And so I said that, what that red sea of color was on the map was glaring for people who may not be in this work and see and feel the implications of what we are to forecast for the next 4 years. That that this country is misogynistic, it is homophobic, it is anti-immigrant, it is anti-Black, and it was a typical Tuesday for most of us. Nothing was different on Wednesday that we already knew, and then the world kind of knew more so on Tuesday, that rained home for them. I think a lot of the time that we have to have for people who are in this work is talking to people who are not of color, who have considered themselves allies, who need to know how they failed us, is what I was asked today, and how they be more supportive, and how the weight of this work should not be on the shoulders of Black people.
Well, Cassie,
and so, yeah,
I was going to ask you, because I want you to speak to, because I know you do a lot when it comes down to reproductive freedoms and reproductive rights.
Yeah.
Talk to us, and how do you feel that women are feeling now? That it sounds like now with the Trump administration, what does that look like for all the work, the tireless work that you've done and others in your circle and your spheres of influence? How do they feel right now with the Trump administration now?
Well, it feels like 2020. There was a global gag rule that before the new administration, the Biden administration came in, there was a gag rule that we tried to fight, to where people were not able to talk to their doctors about their full reproductive options. And so we were fighting for that. We're grateful for Proposal 3 that allowed us to have enshrined in the state the conversation around reproductive care when it came to abortion access and a myriad of other things that was in that policy. But we cannot feel that this state is a sanctuary state. That is a portion of our rights in terms of being able to talk to our doctors about what we want to have. Doesn't mean that we have access to those same things. Doesn't mean that we have the economic support to be able to access fully what we need to thrive. So that means that there are other things that are at play in each municipality that we have to then fight to make sure that we have access where we are. Wednesday, I was in Lansing because, we have the Michigan Mommy Bus, and I'm the policy director for the State of Birth Justice Coalition. And so that policy, what we were intending to hear on Thursday was the birth center bill, which is making sure that there are licensure of birth centers and making sure that there's access to birth centers more so across the state, so that more Black people, more people of color, more people who are impoverished won't die. Because 7 Black people will die tonight. Just so that we know that. So we're trying to make sure that we have a hearing in our health policy committee to discuss moving this forward to where this is a state-wide implementation. We had to cancel that meeting because legislators, we didn't have a quorum for us to have the discussion. Now we have Republican and Democratic people on that committee. We don't know why they did not have the quorum, why they didn't show, but we know that we'll have to start over in January with an administration that may not hold that, birthing people should have access to more and have the care they need in their reproductive choices. So it's a scary time for that policy. It's a scary time in this moment, in this lame duck session, to get what we need passed. And a lot of us, and Norman, you know more than anybody too in this call, that a lot of things have been pushed off for this session. And we're praying that we can get it through before January, regardless of what happened, but now more so than ever. And it's a scary time for the guardrail of care to be implemented, because we know that policy never saves us. It doesn't. But it gives us the remedy for us to be able to advocate for what we need. So we're just hoping that we can get through what we can. I'm grateful that we have so many legislators who have been, even both sides of the aisle, who have been supportive of this legislation. We were able to get through last month 6 bills that actually named obstetric racism and violence in policy, which is the first state in the country to do that. That passed the committee in the Senate. We're looking for now a full Senate vote, and we don't know if we're going to get it in January. So everything is kind of on the fringes in terms of uncertainty, but we're resolute. I mean, we're going to do what we're going to do. Birth Detroit opened, and it was the first Black birthing center in the state. Yep. We're going to serve the people that we need to serve, regardless of Medicaid expansion for midwives, regardless of there being a licensure for that birth center. People still have babies every day, so we're going to make sure that we do what we need to do for our people. But it's not a scary time in terms of the care that we mutually give every day. It's more so about how we don't have any roadblocks in how we give that care.
Well, Cassie, and we've got to get ready to wrap up, but I want to give you a time to give. What is the contact information if somebody wants to join your initiative and they want to be a part of what you're going to do in Lansing? How do they contact you? How do they show their support in your initiatives and what you're doing?
So the Michigan State of Birth Justice Coalition is the website, mistateofbirthjustice.com, or I believe it's both. You can also go to birthdetroit.org, and they have links to our bills, our conversation, calls to action there as well. And you can always reach out to me at Cassie at Fullerwoman. That's FULLERWOMAN.org, and I'll be able to support however you need and connect you to those right resources.
Well, Cassie, we're pleased that you joined us today. We definitely have to have you come back on again and, give more truth to power. But, Cassie, I just want to say this before we let you go, is that we're so appreciative of all the hard work that you and your organizations have been involved in, especially getting people to the polls. So, again, that was very, very much to be commended of you picking up people, making certain that they got to the polls on election day, and even the work that you did in getting people to vote early. There was no excuses that people didn't have to be able to get to the polls to vote, whether or not if it was on election day or prior to for the early voting. So again, our hats are tipped off to you and to your organization and all the tireless work that you've done in trying to make certain that people were able to go and voice their power.
Thank you so much for that, Darwin, and I appreciate you and APRI for how you lead this work as well. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect with you and other organizations to do this work. We actually arranged over 200 rides to the polls, and also our line served as an information center too, which we didn't expect, but we're grateful we're able to kind of sell some this and get people to where they needed to go. So it was my pleasure, and I'm having an election debrief in Inkster November 21st. So I'll make sure that if I have another opportunity, I come on your show again and we can talk about those things.
Cassie, we will give you an opportunity again. Cassie Jones McBride, Fuller Woman, thank you for coming on Truth to Power today. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got probably, about 5 minutes left? So let's look in terms of trying to give. Well, we might be able to stretch it. So since we got Monica Morgan on the show, we might need 5 minutes with Monica, and we may need 5 minutes with Norman. So that might compile it to be 10 minutes. So let's hear from, I'll give you an opportunity Monica, to kind of galvanize your thoughts, and you can kind of go and close us out. So, Norman, I'll give you an opportunity to get your 5 minutes in right quick about what you think, what's the next steps, and what do you think that you, through your organization, Detroit Change Initiative, is going to be doing to make sure that there's a change and we know what we need to do to assist in making that change happen.
Yeah, what we're doing right now, again, is I tell folks who are mad, upset, angry, it's okay. You feel everything that's right that way. But use that fuel to get something done. Favorite angers get stuff done. You're angry, you're mad, give somebody some time to think about it, how to take over the world, they could do that. And so what we're going to do is look at what's facing us, deal with that reality, looking to help support youth getting more IDs, those identification numbers, identifications they need for themselves. We will still work on the pilot projects in our schools about civics and education. There's much needed on the ground and everywhere. And we're going to still go out to community centers, community members, engage in HUD housing. And we're going to do what we're going to do. But what we're also going to do is be a lot more, even more intentional of doing more allyship with organizations that people advise us not to ally with, but they look like us. And I think that's what we're going to do, to really develop that block, that strong block. We just can't be in our silos anymore, and we just can't be sitting there only for men, only talking to men. No, we got to talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs to have that conversation and talk to. So, again, our art block on Sunday, November 24th, 9 a.m. We're going to leave right at 1. I know guys are going to watch the game, but, we're going to sit there and have those conversations over some shrimp and grits. Talk what we need to talk about our plan and stand strategy, because at the end of the day, there's an election next year, This is the city of Detroit. Police commissioners, people running for city council, mayor. That's it. And so we can't dry our eyes, and we're the blackest city in Detroit. We got to have a plan for that. So we got to sit there and do the work and do what we do.
Norman, give your contact information with Detroit Change Initiative.
Detroit Change Initiative, you can reach us at 313-451-0664, or you go on the website at www.dcimovement.org. Email is at info@dcimovement.org.
All right. It looks like we have the photojournalist extraordinary, Ms. Monica Morgan.
I speak through a camera much better than in front of one, but let me say this. I was once asked to work on a committee of a powerful person and to bring in women to support this particular candidate. And it wasn't too long ago. And because I invited women from all walks of life, I was told, well, we really just want women like you. I said, well, what does that mean? Because I believe in inclusivity. I want everybody to be a part of it, of the movement. I was talking to people from all walks of life. I don't just separate, well, this person is doing this and this person is doing that. So again, moving forward, we have to include everyone. And my grandfather used to always say, act, don't react. So as a resilient people, we can get over the mourning stage for those of us women who are into that, and it's time to move forward. And that's what we do. Mm-hmm. We as women especially, we know how to move forward. We know how to fight all of the different misogynistic male comments and the racism. We've done it all our lives. This is not different. This is not new. But we just thought maybe for once we might be vindicated. Maybe for once we might have a woman who deserved to be at the forefront of our country. So we just have to keep going, as we always have, mobilize, join movements, and again, just act. Not get upset, not get angry. Okay, all of it's time for that to go behind us, and so that we can move forward and let people know that we've done it before, and this is not new. unfortunately.
We can do it again.
Yes.
So, Monica, do you have something, an initiative coming up in the near future that you'd like to?
Just for me, I'm always teaching photography. I mean, and for people who just need to get behind the camera of a cell phone or their actual cameras and kind of release things and do walks and bring out their creative moods, or to talk about what they see through the lens. Because that's what happens with the election. You start to look at the photos, and it's the photos that bring you in. So I have a class coming up next Saturday at Grosse Pointe Library. It is free. All you have to do is go on the site and register. I'm told there is a wait list, but don't tell them. I'll let you in if you go and register. Right. Get on the wait list. I'll let you into the free class. And then I have another one coming up in Mount Clemens at their library. So again, it's just showing people the world through everyone's eyes. And I'm always bringing in other folk, kids, young people, to say that it's your vision that matters. Look through the camera lens, show what your world is like, and then branch it out. Just share it with other people. Because that's when we get to see the images that spark the differences, that make us either angry or happy or say, I want to be a part of that. I always made sure that I photographed Vice President Harris in her best light, looking powerful and smiling and engaging, because that brought people into the campaign to show. But you know, a lot of times the opposition will bring in those negative images. So it's the imagery that matters as well.
Yes.
Well, we know that if there's anybody that knows how to bring us in our best light, it's photojournalist Monica Morgan.
Thank you.
You have photographed people throughout the entire world. So again, you and what you do, we always continue to know that if we see that camera lens in front of your face, we know the best image is going to be portrayed.
Thank you.
Norman, Monica, this has been a very, very impactful 2 hours. Tashara Goolsbee, we want to thank you, Monica, for bringing her on board and having her opportunity to voice her truths that becomes her and our power. We thank Ishmael Terry for his commentary that he had when it came down to what he thought about how the selection process went and what he foresees as far as, say, in the future for the democracy and for the people that are going to go and endure these next 4 years under a Trump regime. And we also have heard from Cassie Jones McBride, a Fuller woman. Cassie, again, has been doing so much in the trenches. Norman, as you know, she mentioned your name several times. Yeah. You know about what she's doing and the initiatives that she's trying to do up in Lansing. And we know that there's so much more that needs to be done, and we can get it done if we go and we galvanize and we plan what we're going to do today, and we do it, not leave it up to somebody else to do it for us.
Yes.
So we are thankful that this is going to be a 4 years of getting an opportunity to learn what our power is. You have been listening and watching Truth to Power, where your truths become our power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same station. Thank you again to Tim Smith for being a superb engineer on the show today, and have a great weekend.